As I shared in my previous episode, my peach trees had great pollination this season. However, I knew that plum curculio or Asian fruit moth could bring my hope of juicy peaches crashing down, so I decided to wrap them in old pantyhose as an experimental barrier, tying it with string.
Just by trying out this tip, I noticed that string is not really necessary, at least I think so. If you can make a process simpler, why not? So why not just tie the ends of the nylon stockings together and skip the string all along. That's gonna save time, material, and then again, I don't even know if this is gonna work, so I have to be judicious with my time. I hope it does.
As I explained in my last episode, my hope was that the pantyhose would serve as a barrier to prevent these insects from laying eggs in the developing fruit. I picked the tip up from a book, I think, but couldn't quite remember where. I was skeptical about how effective it could be, considering how thin the nylon material is. I was unsure this could serve as a decent barrier. It would clearly expand with the growing peaches and let them breathe, being a porous fiber. I later learned that this similar concept is used in fruit culture, especially for home growing or for specialty fruit. This is used a lot in Asian countries. They use a type of paper bag. Clemson University even sells these fruit bags online. They claim it helps break up the life cycle of the pests and also prevents some fungal diseases from taking hold of the fruit. Their bags, made of a papery material, act more like tents. They say the bags must be affixed immediately after petal drop, before the insects were active, so there was a huge chance I was doing this too late. They also recommend spraying the tree before affixing the bags. I don't like having to spray anything, even organic sprays, but it seems that some fruit production just is not viable without it. Meanwhile, the cherry trees I had planted were struggling to flower and fruit. My partial neglect and the partial shade they were receiving from the fast-growing trees around them could be to blame, but learning takes time. A couple days after bagging the peaches with nylon stockings, I had to deal with another pressing matter afflicting one of the peach trees I had planted. It had received a blow during winter when a limb from a neighboring tree fell on it and almost broke it. It lay half prostrate, and the increasing weight from leaves and fruit was not ameliorating the situation.
This tree here, this peach tree, is in need of some help. It has beautifully set fruit here. It's the one that has the most beautiful, bigger fruit already. And it seems like it wants to produce well this year. However, it's kind of bent. The problem is, first, I planted it too close to the big trees. Second, there was a tree that fell here and kind of curved the whole tree down. Fortunately, it did not break. That happened last year. But I think it's with all this weight of the fruit that's going to set, it potentially could snap right over there. So I have a plan. I'm going to use some local resources of things that would go to the trash to build a kind of a rustic tripod, and hopefully that will support the trunk of the tree and raise up the fruit so that the groundhog and other animals perhaps don't get to it as easily, and the fruit doesn't rot in the ground also, because there's a lot of fruit here right in the bottom. I just hope to get something out of this, and I think by doing this, I might help.
It was almost like the universe was conspiring against me to ever eating a peach from a tree I planted. It kept throwing obstacles at it, but I resisted. I'll be back right after this commercial. I had to find suitable strong branches to build a supporting tripod out of the limbs I had cut from the front yard trees I had cleared. Finding the right shape and size was key. My first goal here is to find pieces of wood, 3 pieces of wood that are about the same diameter and same height
that would be appropriate to support the trunk.
Considering that the weight of the tree could drastically increase as the peaches grew, I decided to get strong branches that were around 3 inches in diameter. It would also be useful to have the ones with forks so they could interlock and support one another and the tree I was trying to prop up more easily. At least I was accomplishing this idea for free, since all the materials were byproducts from the garden. I chose the branch with a high fork to serve as the main prop for the live tree branch. I positioned it under the branch, being careful not to further damage the tree by possibly snapping an already stressed limb. I also had to be careful not to knock out too many of the setting peaches, as that would totally destroy the harvest. With the main branch in place standing up just by being balanced under the weight of the leaning tree, I used the other tree branches to serve as props to the main one, holding it up. Once I got all 3 in position, I would be able to tie everything up and hope that this jerry-rigged solution worked. I admit it was not my most elegant solution, but it had to do. And if I got it right, it had the potential of being very stable actually. Children in white stare at the sky, running in circles, their dreams are denied. All their tears have run dry, all their fears realized, all their hopes sag inside, waiting for change, waiting for change. Autumn brings forth old lullabies. Now, I just needed to find something to tie the structure up. I could have used screws to hold things up, but I wanted to use only what I had at hand. I remember all the elm tree trimmings I had laying around and decided to peel out the bark to use as rough rope or bandage. The tireless passage of time, all their tears have run dry, all their fears realized, all their hopes sag inside, waiting for change. Elm bark is very versatile, since it peels away easily. All you need is a sharp instrument like a knife to help you start peeling it from one end. It comes out easily after that. I think it's fun to use whatever you have at hand as raw materials to come up with things. Our ancestors did it out of necessity, since synthetic materials didn't exist and imported ones were prohibitively expensive. They had to use their imaginations, ingenuity, and traditional wisdom to survive. We can still choose to do so today, to exercise our creativity and to lead more sustainable lives. Imagine just how much more embodied energy and pollution comes from having to buy lumber or rope just to prop up a tree if I were to use conventional materials and methods. Industry has brought us many wonderful things, and I do take full advantage of them when I need to. But we can be more mindful of our impact in the environment with what we consume. We can learn to be more producers and less consumers by growing part of our own food and choosing sustainable options whenever possible and practical. We can make an impact collectively. There are many things that just make sense to have growing at home, like summer vegetables and leafy greens and herbs. Growing them at home can not only be cheaper, but also yield fresher, higher value produce. Other things like growing fruit can be more tricky to get going. In some instances, fruit trees yield abundantly with neglect. In other cases, like my peach trees, it is an uphill struggle. But as we gain experience and confidence, we become better, but most importantly, we learn to value food more. When we struggle to grow our food, we value the work of a farmer as we should, since they literally keep us fed and alive. Our modern industrial system of food production has made food cheaper and more abundant, and that is great, since we could theoretically not let anyone go hungry because of this. We have lost some respect for food in the process precisely by forgetting its intrinsic value. We only focus on the monetary value, and because of that system, we still let people go hungry. We sell overabundance on the market shelves while we throw half of it away in backdoor dumpsters instead of giving it to those who can't afford, respecting its intrinsic value to nourish. I hope I can learn from this struggle to actually grow my own peaches, and I hope I can get to harvest them. You will find out in the upcoming episodes.